Loving kindness, metta love without conditions. Rediscovering the sacred art of loving in a modern world. Love. It's one of the most desired, sung about, written about, and pursued experiences in the human journey. From our earliest years, we yearn to be seen, accepted, and cherished. And yet, for all its poetic beauty, love, especially in modern relationships, has become tangled in expectation, anxiety, and conditionality. But what if love could be something more timeless, more healing, and more free? What if love, rather than being a negotiation of needs, could become a path to deeper peace, not only with others but within ourselves? Enter the ancient Buddhist teaching of metta, often translated as loving kindness. In a world that sometimes feels transactional and performative, metta invites us back into the heart, into a love that is unconditional, spacious, and liberating. It is a kind of love that does not depend on the other person behaving a certain way, looking a certain way, or fulfilling some role. It is a love that simply wishes well, gently and purely, a love that gives without needing to get. Let us take a journey into this beautiful teaching, and explore how it can transform not just our relationships, but the very way we experience life. What is metta? The word metta comes from the ancient Pali language and is most often translated as loving kindness or benevolence. But words barely do it justice. Metta is not romantic love, nor is it infatuation. It is not attachment, dependence, or desire. It is a deep, unconditional wish for all beings to be happy, healthy, and free from suffering. At its core, metta is a mindset of goodwill, toward ourselves, toward our loved ones, toward strangers, and even toward those we may struggle to like. It is a radical concept in the best sense of the word, radically kind, radically free, and radically transformative. The problem with conditional love. Let's face it, most of us, consciously or not, are taught to love conditionally. We're raised in systems that reward performance, good behavior earns praise, meeting expectations earns affection. This reward-based model of love often bleeds into our adult relationships. We may find ourselves thinking, "I love you because you make me feel special. I'll be kind to you if you treat me the way I want. If you change this or stop doing that, then I'll be happy." While these thoughts are human and understandable, they reveal a deeper truth. We often treat love as a transaction, something earned, something given in exchange for emotional security, validation, or personal fulfillment. But the problem with transactional love is that it is inherently unstable. People change. Emotions fluctuate. Needs evolve. And when our love is tied to the shifting tides of circumstance, it becomes fragile, prone to disappointment, resentment, and fear. Conditional love whispers, "I love you, but only if." Metta says, "I love you. Period." Metta in modern relationships. You might be wondering, but if I love unconditionally, won't I be taken for granted or hurt? It's a fair concern, and an important one. Metta is not about becoming a doormat. It is not about tolerating abuse, disrespect, or neglect. Loving kindness does not mean accepting harmful behavior in the name of compassion. Rather, metta is an internal posture, a way of holding space for another person's humanity, even when we need to draw boundaries. In a modern romantic relationship, metta can look like accepting your partner as they are, without constantly trying to fix or change them. Wishing for their happiness, even during moments of conflict. Speaking kindly, even when setting firm boundaries. Forgiving, not because the other deserves it, but because your heart is big enough to release the burden. Showing up with presence, rather than with expectations. This kind of love requires strength, not weakness. It asks us to grow beyond the ego's cravings, and into the spaciousness of the heart. The practice of metta begins within. Here is the secret that many forget: you cannot offer true loving-kindness to others if you do not first cultivate it toward yourself. So many of us are deeply critical of ourselves. We internalize voices that say we are not enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough. We push ourselves to meet ideals we can barely define. The Buddha taught that metta starts with the self. We begin by turning inward and whispering, with honesty and gentleness. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. At first, this may feel strange. We're not used to being tender with ourselves. But over time, this softens the heart. It dissolves the inner war. And as we begin to feel more whole within ourselves, we naturally become more loving toward others, not out of need, but from fullness. You cannot pour from an empty cup. But when your heart is full of metta, it overflows. Real-life examples of metta in action. Let's bring this down to earth with a few real-life scenarios that show what loving-kindness looks like in action. 1. A couple in conflict. Instead of shouting or withdrawing when hurt, a partner practices metta by pausing, breathing, and saying, "I'm feeling upset, but I care about you. Let's figure this out together." Showing up with presence, rather than with expectations. This kind of love requires strength, not weakness. It asks us to grow beyond the ego's cravings, and into the spaciousness of the heart. The practice of metta begins within. Here is the secret that many forget: you cannot offer true loving-kindness to others if you do not first cultivate it toward yourself. So many of us are deeply critical of ourselves. We internalize voices that say we are not enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough. We push ourselves to meet ideals we can barely define. The Buddha taught that metta starts with the self. We begin by turning inward and whispering, with honesty and gentleness. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. At first, this may feel strange. We're not used to being tender with ourselves. But over time, this softens the heart. It dissolves the inner war. And as we begin to feel more whole within ourselves, we naturally become more loving toward others, not out of need, but from fullness. You cannot pour from an empty cup. But when your heart is full of metta, it overflows. Real-life examples of metta in action. Let's bring this down to earth with a few real-life scenarios that show what loving-kindness looks like in action. 1. A couple in conflict. Instead of shouting or withdrawing when hurt, a partner practices metta by pausing, breathing, and saying, "I'm feeling upset, but I care about you. Let's figure this out together." This doesn't mean ignoring the issue. It means addressing it with kindness rather than aggression. 2. When a partner is struggling. Rather than trying to fix or judge their partner's depression or stress, the other holds them in loving presence, saying, "I'm here for you. I may not have answers, but I'm not going anywhere." Metta holds space, rather than trying to control outcomes. 3. Letting go with grace. Sometimes love means releasing someone. Instead of clinging or blaming, a person with metta might say, "Even if we're no longer together, I still wish you well. I hope you find peace and joy." This is unconditional love in its purest form, a love that transcends possession. The emotional rewards of metta. Practicing loving kindness has been shown in scientific studies to increase positive emotions like joy, gratitude, and compassion, reduce depression, anxiety, and even physical pain, Strengthen emotional resilience and empathy. Deepen connection in relationships, even difficult ones. But beyond the data, the real reward is something deeper: peace. Metta allows us to stop waging war, with ourselves, with others, with life. It brings us into a gentler rhythm, where love flows freely, not because everything is perfect, but because our hearts are big enough to love through imperfection. How to cultivate metta daily. Like any spiritual practice, loving kindness grows with intention. Here are some gentle ways to invite more metta into your life. 1. Daily metta meditation. Sit quietly and repeat phrases like, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be well." Then extend these wishes to others, loved ones, neutral people, and even difficult people. Start with just 5 minutes a day. Let it be sincere, not forced. 2. Pause before reacting. When conflict arises, try pausing and asking, what would love do here? How can I respond with kindness, not just to them, but to myself too? 3. Practice deep listening. Put away distractions. Listen without planning your reply. Listening is an act of love. 4. Say kind things out loud. Appreciate your partner. Compliment sincerely. Offer encouragement. Don't just feel love, express it. 5. Forgive often. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it's letting go of the grip anger has on your heart. Metta gives you the courage to release what no longer serves. Conclusion: the freedom of loving without conditions. In the end, metta is more than a concept, it's a way of being. It reminds us that love is not something we chase, demand, or earn. It is something we become. To love without conditions is the most radical, courageous, and healing thing we can do. It doesn't mean we lose ourselves. It means we find ourselves, in the vast, warm light of our own open hearts. So let us love bravely. Let us wish others well, even when we're hurting. Let us show up with gentleness, even when things feel messy. Let us remember that behind every face is a longing to be loved, just like us. Metta is the bridge between your heart and the world. May you cross it, again and again, with love, and without conditions. Impermanence, Anicca, embracing change in love. The art of letting go while still holding on. If there is one truth that every single human being comes face to face with, at one time or another, it is this: everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Not people. Not feelings. Not even love. This truth, while simple, is often one of the hardest to accept, especially when it comes to relationships. We fall in love and want the feeling to last forever. We experience joy and want to hold on to it. We find comfort in routine and hope it never shifts. But Buddhism, in its gentle and compassionate wisdom, offers a mirror to our deepest fears and desires with one simple word: Anicca, impermanence. In Buddhist philosophy, impermanence is not something to fear, it's something to understand, embrace, and live in harmony with. It is the nature of all things: thoughts, emotions, bodies, identities, seasons, and yes, even relationships. Everything is in a constant state of change. Nothing remains frozen in time. But here's the secret: when we truly accept this, we don't become more anxious, we become more alive. More present. More capable of loving fully and letting go gracefully. Let's explore how the teaching of impermanence can radically transform the way we relate, not just to our partners, but to the very essence of love itself. The illusion of permanence in relationships. Let's start with a common scene: the early stages of a relationship. Everything feels magical. You're getting to know each other, sharing laughs, late-night talks, stolen glances. There's excitement, passion, possibility. Naturally, you want to capture that feeling, preserve it, protect it, hold on to it tightly. You tell yourself, this is it. This is how it should always be. I never want this to change. But over time, things do change. The intensity softens. Habits form. Life gets in the way. Stressors arise. And before you know it, you may find yourself mourning the loss of how things used to be, even while your partner is still right there beside you. This is where suffering begins, not because things changed, but because we expected them not to. Clinging creates suffering. The Buddha taught that attachment, not change itself, is the root of suffering. When we cling to an image, a version, a phase of a relationship, we fight against the natural flow of life. We become resistant, fearful, nostalgic. We start comparing the present moment to some imagined past ideal. You used to be more affectionate. We used to have more fun. Things were so much better back then. These thoughts, though natural, often trap us in grief for what was, rather than gratitude for what is. And yet, trying to freeze time or keep love in a glass box is like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grasp, the faster it slips through your fingers. Clinging is fear wearing the mask of love. But true love, awakened love, has nothing to fear from change. What impermanence teaches us about love? When we embrace impermanence, we stop expecting love to be static, and we start allowing it to be alive. Here's what that shift looks like. 1. We appreciate more deeply. When you know that nothing lasts forever, you begin to treasure the small things. A quiet dinner. A warm touch. A shared laugh. You realize that these moments are not guaranteed, and that makes them sacred. Impermanence doesn't diminish love, it intensifies it. It whispers, don't take this for granted. This too is precious. 2. We allow space for growth. You and your partner are not the same people you were when you first met. And that's a good thing. Growth means life. But when we resist our own evolution or our partners, we create tension. Accepting impermanence allows us to say, I love who you are becoming, even as I learn to say goodbye to who you were. This kind of love doesn't try to keep things fixed. It supports transformation. 3. We find peace in the flow. Relationships are not straight lines, they are rivers. They have still waters and rapids, bends and shallows, floods and droughts. When we accept the natural ebb and flow, we stop fighting the current. We learn to flow with life, rather than against it. And in doing so, we discover peace. Letting go while still loving. One of the most painful experiences in love is having to let go. Whether it's a breakup, a divorce, or simply growing apart, saying goodbye to someone we once shared everything with can feel like a small death. But impermanence reminds us, nothing is ever truly lost. What we shared was real. What we felt was valid. And though it may no longer exist in the same form, it lives on in memory, in growth, in the lessons we carry forward. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means loving without needing to possess. It means honoring what was while accepting what is. And sometimes, letting go is the greatest act of love we can offer. How to practice embracing impermanence in relationships. So how can we begin to live this truth more fully? How do we bring the wisdom of anicca into our modern, often messy, relationships? Here are a few practices to ground you. 1. Daily gratitude for the present. Each day, take a moment to silently thank your partner not for something they did, but simply for being here, now. Try saying internally, I see you. I'm grateful for this moment. I know it won't last forever, and that's why it matters so much. This practice builds presence. It reminds you to love now, not in hindsight. 2. Accept emotional shifts as natural. No one feels constant love, joy, or connection. Feelings change, and that doesn't mean your relationship is broken. It means you're human. Instead of panicking when things feel distant or quiet, try breathing and trusting the cycle. Clouds pass. Emotions move. Love remains not always in feeling, but in choice. 3. Honor milestones and endings. Celebrate transitions, anniversaries, moves, even endings. Rituals help us acknowledge change with grace. A farewell dinner, a letter of thanks after a breakup, these can turn endings into offerings, rather than wounds. 4. Let your partner be new. We often box our partners into identities: he's always like this, or she never does that. These narratives keep us stuck in the past. Try meeting your partner with fresh eyes. Let them surprise you. Let yourself be surprised. Every moment is a chance to fall in love again if we're paying attention. 5. Meditate on impermanence. One of the most powerful Buddhist meditations involves contemplating impermanence, of the body, of relationships, of all things. Sit quietly and reflect. This body will age. This moment will pass. Everything changes, and that's okay. Far from being depressing, this practice often leads to profound freedom. The hidden beauty of impermanence. There is a cherry blossom tree that blooms only once a year for a single week. People from all over the world gather just to witness it. They know the petals will fall. They know the moment will be gone soon. And that's why it's beautiful. Not in spite of its impermanence, but because of it. Love is like that. Its fragility makes it sacred. Its impermanence makes it urgent, tender, real. If love lasted forever, unchanging, we might stop noticing it. But because it doesn't, we're called to wake up, to love harder, speak softer, forgive faster. To make the most of every imperfect, passing moment. In closing, flow with the river, not against it. To embrace impermanence is not to give up on love. It is to love better. To love with open hands, not clenched fists. To allow each stage, each moment, each version of your partner and yourself to arise and pass away like waves in the sea. When you live from this place, love becomes less about holding on and more about showing up. Less about keeping, and more about being present. And that, perhaps, is the greatest kind of love there is. Non-attachment, loving without clinging. How Buddhist wisdom can help us love without losing ourselves. Love is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. We write songs about it, make vows in its name, and sometimes even lose ourselves in pursuit of it. But here's the paradox. The more tightly we try to hold on to love, the more it tends to slip through our fingers. The more we cling, the more love seems to resist. This isn't a flaw in love, it's a flaw in how we relate to it. In a world of instant gratification and endless comparison, many of us confuse attachment with connection, control with care, possession with presence. Buddhist philosophy, with its ancient and timeless insights, offers an antidote: non-attachment. But let's clear something up immediately. Non-attachment is not coldness, emotional distance, or indifference. It's not about detaching from people or numbing ourselves to avoid pain. In fact, non-attachment is one of the purest, most powerful ways to love. Let's journey into what non-attachment really means and how learning to love without clinging can bring depth, freedom, and lasting peace to our modern relationships. What is non-attachment, really? In Pali, the language of early Buddhist texts, the word often translated as attachment is upadana, meaning clinging, grasping, or holding on tightly. Non-attachment, then, is the absence of that grasping. But it's not the absence of love. Non-attachment doesn't say, "I don't care about you." It says, "I care about you deeply, but I don't need to own you to feel whole." It is the art of loving someone completely, while still honoring their autonomy, impermanence, and individuality. If attachment says, "You belong to me," non-attachment says, "I love you, and I honor your freedom." Why we attach, the fear beneath the cling. Let's be honest, we all crave connection. We want to be close to someone. We want to feel secure, seen, and loved. That's natural. But when fear enters the picture, fear of abandonment, fear of loss, fear of not being enough, love can become possessive. We start monitoring, controlling, demanding. We cling because we're afraid. This attachment can look like constantly needing reassurance, feeling anxious when the other person is distant, jealousy or possessiveness, trying to fix or change someone to meet our needs, defining your identity through the relationship. And while these behaviors are understandable, they often suffocate the very love we want to protect. Because love, by nature, needs room to breathe. Non-attachment is deep, spacious love. Imagine love that's not tangled in fear or neediness. A love that trusts rather than controls. A love that offers freedom instead of cages. That is non-attachment. It's not a detachment from the relationship, it's a release of the illusion that we can control it. It's loving someone so deeply that you want them to be free, even if that means letting them grow in a different direction. It's allowing both people in the relationship to be whole, not dependent halves trying to complete each other. Non-attachment is love without fear. What non-attachment looks like in a relationship. Let's ground this in real life. Here are a few examples of what non-attached love looks like in action. 1. Trust without micromanaging. You don't feel the need to check their phone, question every action, or constantly seek validation. You trust them, not because they're perfect, but because you've chosen to love without fear. I give you my trust because I choose peace, not paranoia. 2. Supporting growth, even if it scares you. Your partner wants to take a new job, start a new journey, or spend more time on self-discovery. Instead of clinging to comfort, you support their evolution. I love who you're becoming, not just who you've been. 3. Handling distance with grace. Maybe they're emotionally withdrawn for a period. Instead of panicking, you hold space, knowing that emotions are impermanent and people go through seasons. I'm here when you're ready. I'll stay grounded, not reactive. 4. Leaving, if that's what's right. Sometimes non-attachment means walking away from something that no longer serves either person, with peace, not bitterness. I still love you, but I love us both enough to let go. This doesn't mean it's easy, it means it's real. The freedom of non-attached love. Here's what you gain when you practice non-attachment in love. Emotional freedom, you're no longer a prisoner to fear, jealousy, or constant worry. Stronger connection, ironically, giving someone space to be themselves often draws them closer. Personal growth, you retain your individuality, even in deep union. Peace and impermanence, you're not devastated by change, you accept it as part of the dance. This doesn't mean you won't feel pain. It means the pain will no longer define you. It will pass through you, not consume you. How to cultivate non-attachment in your relationship. Non-attachment is not something you master overnight. It's a daily practice, a way of relating to yourself, your partner, and life. Here are some steps to help you begin. 1. Build a relationship with yourself first. Many forms of attachment are rooted in a disconnection from the self. If you rely on your partner to feel worthy, safe, or whole, you'll always be afraid of losing them. Start with inner work. Spend time alone. Reflect. Meditate. Reconnect with your own needs, values, and passions. The more whole you feel within, the less you need to cling to someone else for completion. 2. Watch your thoughts without judgment. When jealousy or fear arises, notice it without feeding it. Ask yourself, is this love talking or fear? The moment you become aware, you can choose a different response. Awareness is the first step to liberation. 3. Practice loving kindness, Metta. Wish your partner well not because they belong to you, but because you care for their happiness. Even when things are hard, repeat silently. May you be happy. May you be at peace. May you feel free. This reorients your love from need to generosity. 4. Let go of forever thinking. Instead of asking, will this last, ask, how can I love well today? Instead of chasing security in a fixed future, find meaning in the present moment. Non-attachment isn't about abandoning the future, it's about not needing it to look a certain way in order to feel okay now. 5. Communicate openly, not possessively. Non-attachment doesn't mean suppressing your needs. It means expressing them with clarity, not control. Saying, I feel vulnerable when I don't hear from you. Can we talk about it? Not, you never text me. Who are you with? Speak your truth but leave room for their truth, too. Non-attachment is not passive, it's powerful. Let's clarify one final thing, non-attachment is not passivity. It's not resignation. It's not pretending you don't care. And it's certainly not accepting mistreatment in the name of being unattached. It takes tremendous strength to love with open hands. It takes real courage to trust someone without trying to control them. It takes deep self-awareness to hold space for another person's growth, even when it feels scary. Non-attachment doesn't weaken love. It purifies it. It burns away the ego, the fear, the expectations, until all that's left is truth. In closing, the most beautiful kind of love. We often think the strongest love is the one that holds on no matter what. But perhaps the strongest love is the one that's willing to let go when it's time. Not because we stopped caring, but because we cared enough not to cling. To love without attachment is to be present, not possessive. Be generous, not grasping. Be whole, even while deeply connected. It's to walk side by side, not chained together, two whole beings choosing each other, not out of fear, but out of freedom. So may you love, not with desperation, but with depth. May you open your heart, not to bind, but to bless. May you walk the path of love, not in clinging, but in connection. And in doing so, may mindfulness in love, the art of being fully present. Because love only exists in the here and now. Have you ever been in a room with someone you love, yet felt miles apart? You sit side by side. The TV hums in the background. Words are exchanged, maybe even laughter. But something is missing. You're both there, but not really there. In today's fast-moving world, where attention is the most fragmented resource, mindfulness may be the rarest and most powerful gift you can offer someone. And when it comes to love, it might just be the most essential. From the teachings of the Buddha to modern psychology, mindfulness, the practice of being fully present, is often described as the root of transformation. But its truest beauty unfolds not only on a meditation cushion, but in the quiet, everyday moments between people. In the way we listen, the way we touch, the way we simply exist together. Let's explore how mindfulness, when practiced within relationships, doesn't just improve communication or reduce conflict, it turns love into a living meditation. The mindless love trap, living in the past or future. Most of us don't fall out of love because we stop caring. We fall out of love because we stop noticing. We get caught in a cycle of mental noise. Replaying yesterday's arguments. Worrying about tomorrow's uncertainties. Zoning out on phones or social media. Thinking about what to say next instead of listening. And while all of that is happening in our heads, life and love is quietly slipping by. The only place where love can truly live is in the present moment. We can't connect with someone if we're not actually with them mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And this is where mindfulness steps in like a lighthouse, reminding us. Come back. Come home. This moment is all there is. What is mindfulness in a relationship? Mindfulness means bringing your full awareness to what's happening right now, without judgment. In love, it means listening fully, instead of preparing your reply. Touching with awareness, instead of habit. Speaking intentionally, not impulsively. Seeing your partner with fresh eyes, not through the filter of old hurts or expectations. It's showing up not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. When you are mindful in love, you don't just share a life, you co-create it, moment by moment. The cost of distraction in love. We all crave love, but we rarely pause long enough to receive it. We say, "I love you," while scrolling. We hug, but our mind is at work. We have dinner together, but we're thinking about tomorrow's plans. These aren't sins, they're symptoms of stress, of modern life, of conditioning. But over time, distraction becomes disconnection. Disconnection becomes resentment. And slowly, love that once felt alive begins to feel hollow. Mindfulness is the medicine. Not to go back in time, but to return to what's real right now. When you're present, everything changes. Imagine this. You come home after a long day. Your partner looks up from the couch. Instead of just a distracted, "Hey," they pause. They look into your eyes. They put down their phone. They smile fully, genuinely. In that small moment of presence, you feel seen, heard, loved. Or picture lying in bed. One hand rests in another. No words. Just breath, shared silence, mutual warmth. The world fades, and that moment becomes everything. Mindfulness turns love into a meditation, not a transaction. Many relationships unknowingly turn into negotiations. I'll listen to you if you listen to me. I'll be loving when you're being loving. I'll be patient when you stop being difficult. This tit-for-tat mindset creates emotional contracts rather than emotional connection. But mindfulness doesn't operate on conditions. It isn't performative. It doesn't keep score. When you practice mindfulness with your partner, your love becomes a living, breathing meditation, an act of devotion, not obligation. You no longer love for something. You love with something: presence, awareness, acceptance. How to practice mindfulness in love, real-life applications. Mindfulness isn't reserved for monks. It's meant for messy, modern humans. Here's how it shows up in everyday love. 1. Listening without interrupting. Most of us listen to respond, not to understand. But mindfulness means letting go of mental replies. Being fully curious about your partner's experience. Listening with your body, eyes, heart, breath. Even if you don't agree, you're telling your partner, your world matters to me. 2. Eye contact without distraction. Put down the phone. Look at the person in front of you. The face you see every day still holds mysteries. Still wants to be recognized. In mindfulness, eye contact becomes communion. Two souls saying silently, I see you. I'm here. 3. Mindful touch. A rushed hug. A distracted kiss. A pat on the back. We touch without feeling. Mindful touch is different. It's intentional. Awake. Slow. Even if it lasts just a few seconds. Hold a hand and actually feel its texture. Caress a shoulder with love and attention. Let your physical gestures say what words cannot. 4. Breathing together. Next time you're sitting with your partner, try this. Without saying a word, simply sync your breath with theirs. Inhale. Exhale. Together. This simple act is profoundly connecting. It brings nervous systems into harmony. It's like saying, let's be here, now, as one. 5. Saying, I love you, mindfully. These 3 words are powerful. But they can become routine. So next time you say them, pause. Look into their eyes. Let the words rise from your heart, not your habits. Let it land like a prayer. The miracles of mindful love. What happens when you bring mindfulness into your relationship? Conflicts soften, because you pause instead of react. Intimacy deepens, because you're not just close, you're connected. Gratitude grows, because you stop taking things for granted. Love becomes peace, not drama. Mindfulness doesn't make your relationship perfect. It makes it real. And in a world full of artificial connection, real is revolutionary. When presence heals more than words. There are times in love when words fail. When apologies fall short. When explanations don't satisfy. In those moments, presence speaks louder than language. A partner who simply sits beside you in silence. A hand held through the ache. A gaze that says, you're not alone. Mindfulness is the space where healing begins. No fixing. No forcing. Just being together. Mindfulness doesn't mean you never drift, it means you return. Let's be clear, you will get distracted. You'll forget to listen. You'll zone out, check out, or snap. That's human. But mindfulness gives you the power to notice, and come back. Back to the breath. Back to the body. Back to your partner. Back to love. The return is the practice. The return is the miracle. In a world starved for attention, presence is love. We are more connected than ever digitally and more disconnected emotionally. That's why your presence is one of the rarest, most radical gifts you can offer. When you show up, truly with open eyes, a soft heart, and an attentive spirit, you remind your partner that they matter. That they are worthy of being seen, heard, and held. In that space, love is no longer something you give or get. It becomes something you are. Final thoughts: mindful love is timeless love. Time passes. Looks change. Roles shift. But presence never ages. When you love with mindfulness, each moment becomes timeless. Each day becomes sacred. Each breath, an I do. So next time you sit across from someone you love, don't rush the moment. Put down the phone. Take their hand. Look into their eyes. Breathe. Because the greatest expression of love is not a grand gesture. It's the quiet courage to show up, fully, right now. That is mindful love. That is transformative. That is real.